As Allison mentioned, the intersection between Western psychotherapy and Eastern ways of liberation exists prominently within existential psychotherapy traditions. Existential therapy focuses on free will, self determination, and the capacity to make meaningful choices aligned with one's values. These are tenets also supported by the aforementioned modern third wave therapies. Existential psychotherapists work to assist their clients in transcending their ties to conventions and institutions by honestly confronting life's universal concerns, such as death, isolation, freedom, and meaninglessness. Questions such as, how do I exist in the face of uncertainty or death, underlie the existential anxieties often presented in therapy. And much like Eastern philosophy, existential psychotherapy postulates that although sickness and death may be painful inevitabilities, the way we think about or don't think about death is what creates this internal unrest. In existential psychotherapy approaches, individuals are often encouraged to be aware of and accept death while not becoming overwhelmed by it through processes of gaining control over one's own life. Although it may feel easier to avoid thinking about the inevitability of death or the loneliness that often accompanies human experience, distracting oneself from reality often comes at the cost of living an authentic life. This actually reminds me of a quote by Otto Rank, which says that the neurotic refuses the loan of life to avoid paying the debt of death. According to Alan Watts, this parallels Eastern ways of liberation that incite individuals to develop a sense of wonder or curiosity about their lives, thus confronting issues of despair often associated with loneliness or meaninglessness. Existentialism, like Eastern ways of liberation, asserts that meaning comes from within the individual and encourages questioning of the reliance on institutions or others for guidance in an attempt to break the client from their social conditioning. It is important to note that in existential psychotherapy, the therapist is not an educator, as commonly seen in CBT approaches, but rather the therapist is seen as a fellow human who can relate to existential anxiety. An existential psychotherapist is tasked with engaging authentically with the client to facilitate healing through genuine empathy, which aligns with Eastern approaches on the belief that people exist in the presence of others. Thus, clients desire to connect with the therapist on a personal level, making practicing what you preach particularly important.